Alex, in 2025, you need to be using AI to help you create content. But if you do it the wrong way, you're going to end up with content that's forgettable and derivative, and your audience is going to pass you by. Here's how to do it better.
We have a really exciting announcement for all of our viewers and listeners out there. The new book, Endless Customers by Marcus Sheridan and the team here at Impact, comes out in April of 2025, which is really exciting. But you know what's more exciting? You can go right now, today, to endlesscustomers.com and pre-order your copy. And if you do so, there's all sorts of great bonus content that you're going to get that you wouldn't normally get if you don't pre-order. So again, go to endlesscustomers.com and pre-order your copy today so you can learn how to earn trust and win more business in the age of AI. Welcome back to Endless Customers. I'm your host, Alex Winter, and today we are joined by John Becker. He's a coach and trainer here at Impact. John, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Alex.
Happy to have you here. Really excited. We have a good conversation today. This is something that's a trending topic. I think it's something that we need to discuss because everyone is so obsessed and infatuated and excited about AI. It's the new revolution. It's the new .com bubble. It's what everyone's talking about. Everyone's using GPT or Claude or all these crazy tools. There's a million of them. It's almost impossible to keep up with them all. But I think the topic for today is to really focus on how to leverage these tools in a meaningful way and still keeping it human so that people get a real sense of who you are as a brand and who you are as a person and not feeling like you're just regurgitating whatever comes out of GPT or it feels like a computer is responding to you. So figuring out that human piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can be challenging. So where's a good place to start with this conversation as far as finding that balance between AI and human?
Well, I love that first off, you said that you compared this to the .com bubble, and AI does feel like kind of the Wild West right now.
It does.
And we know that there's so many tools coming out so fast and they're advancing so quickly, but it's also a landscape that is nowhere near settled. And the tool that seems great today can fold up tomorrow. The tool that seems okay might really take some big leaps and bounds and be in a great place in 6 months. But we see a lot of companies right now that are propped up by VC funding and that don't yet really know how to make money. Mm-hmm. And I think over the next year or two, we're going to see a lot of settling of the market where companies get acquired or they fall by the wayside. But ultimately, the most useful tools are the ones that integrate smoothly into the ones that we already use. And so I think Adobe is probably the best example of that, where they've enhanced tools like Photoshop, which are already really familiar, to have AI capabilities that feel really naturally built into the work that people are already doing in those tools. Yeah. With the exception of GPT, ChatGPT, and Claude, you mentioned both of those are huge and are kind of standalone. So it's a market that is nowhere near settled, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But there are really exciting tools out there, and like you said, when we use those to enhance the work that we do, we can be better workers, but we can't so blindly use them that what we end up producing feels derivative or interchangeable with any other brand out there.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're getting to a place too now where a lot of people are using AI in our space specifically, but also across the board. It doesn't matter what industry you're in these days, where like I can tell now if you pulled something and copy and pasted it out of GPT, there's a lot of hyphenated words and certain weak language type words that I just noticed, and I'm like, oh, this is clearly GPT. So from a content manager standpoint, and we're talking about 2 to 3 articles a week, 2 to 3 pieces of content a week, if it's video, whatever the balance is, like how do you leverage these tools so that it helps you do your job better, faster, stronger, but also not give away that you're using AI and still making it human and making it authentic to your brand or to you as a person?
Yeah. Well, I love that you said that, Alex. And I think everybody who is aware of what's going on out in the marketplace right now knows those tells of AI. Yep. In the ever-changing world of, or these, I think when I see something that feels structurally very redundant, it's a header, a single sentence, a bulleted list, a header, a single sentence, a bulleted list. Those kinds of things are just, ultimately they don't really serve the reader, or in other mediums, they might not serve the watcher or the listener. That's not to say that AI can't produce great content, but like anything, what you put into it will affect what you get out of it. And I think to me and the work that I do with companies, we need a really competent human to sit in that seat as the content manager, because they have to be the ones who evaluate whether something sounds on brand or not, how they can use tools to enhance their process, not replace them. But yeah, we ask for our content managers to produce a lot of content, and AI is a real boon there, and it can do a lot of tasks that can help them move faster. But it doesn't replace them, and any time where it feels like it's replacing them, they're probably not doing it right, or they're missing the point.
Yeah. You said something in there that stuck out to me about you get out what you put into it, right? So there is a piece that we haven't really talked a lot about on the show. Chris Dupre talks about this quite a bit, but I think it'd be good to just kind of dive into a little that, like, you can train GPT and you can train Claude, but you have to know how to prompt it, and you have to know how to communicate with it in a way that it's going to start to learn and become more aware of your style and your voice and everything that goes with that. So how does somebody do that as a content manager? And you said having like the right person in the seat is critical.
Yep.
I totally agree. So like, how does that person get these AI tools to really start speaking their lingo and their language and their vibe?
Yeah, it depends on the tool, of course, but I think we have to think of using an AI not so much as prompting it, but conversationally.
Okay.
And we go back and forth, and it's learning, whether you're building a custom GPT, whether you're using the brand voice feature in HubSpot, Claude. There are others where the more it learns, the more you say, try this again, try more, make it more like this or like that, the better the response is going to be, and the more it will learn what you're looking for. But at the end of the day, I think that human needs to have that final touch on anything. I was working with a content manager just a couple of days ago who, very competent, very good writer, very smart, but he had never done anything with web copy. And he had to write web copy for this new page that's launching. And to make it even more cinematic, they need this website to launch before a major trade show that's coming up.
Okay.
So this is very much, we got to get it done. So he's feeling some stress about it. He's never done this before. Okay. And what we were doing, and we were working together, is he would kind of write one headline or one blurb, and then he would put it into, we were using Claude, and say, rewrite this 5 different ways, or give me 5 alternatives to this headline.
Okay.
And what came out, they weren't great, but they were pretty good, and they helped him think of the best option. And that's the way the tool works best, I think, as a kind of sparring partner, where you can put in ideas, you can have a conversation back and forth. I want this to sound this way, but help me make it a little bit less formal, or help me make this a little bit more witty, or something that feels more connected to the style you're going for.
Sure.
But if that's a struggle for you, this is a tool that can help, or there are many tools that can help. There's something that we're using in HubSpot a lot called Content Remix, where if you write an article, you can put it in, AI will spit out social posts, an email template, and some other adjacent content mediums that all come from your piece of content, are in the same style or voice, but saves you a ton of time, rather than thinking, okay, what does this sound like on LinkedIn? Okay, no, how is it going to sound a little bit different on Facebook?
Right.
And it can just help you speed that up with knowledge of the platforms, knowledge of your style, your voice, and then the content that you put in.
Yeah, I tend to use it that way too, as more of like an incubator, because I think when I have to write things, the struggle is looking at the blank page and going like, where do I even start? How do I take some of these ideas and translate them? And that's, at least in my experiences, that's really helped me using GPT or Claude, is to like get those ideas out, start to formulate some sort of a plan, and then I pull pieces from that, and that's really what gets the wheel spinning for me. And it's helped me tremendously, because that's where I used to get stuck before. Yeah.
I know we've talked on this program before about how valuable it is for content managers to listen to sales calls, to hear the questions from buyers, so that they can produce content that resonates with that buyer. AI is fantastic for that. If you can take a transcript and put it into GPT, then it becomes a conversation, and you can say, because especially if it's a 60-minute call or an 80-minute call, it's hard to sort through a lot of text or a lot of video.
Right.
So if you can ask questions, say like, take me to every time that the customer asks about warranties, and then immediately it's 22 minutes in, 44 minutes, whatever it is, you can find it. Then you can dive into those individual moments, rather than having to sort through this big wall of text.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and it speeds up the process because watching sales calls is critical for the marketing team. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, but also 60 minutes to sit there and watch an episode and watch a call, even at 2x speed or 1.5x speed, it's time consuming.
It's time consuming. And if you have a job to do, you have to sort of find that balance. Is this worth my time?
Right.
Certainly it's valuable, but you have other things you have to do that might feel more like deliverables. Yeah. And being able to turn that into a conversation is going to be more fruitful.
Yeah. So what are some factors that make content sound more human? So if we take a step back from like the AI piece of it and listen, you're an excellent writer. You have an extensive background in writing and teaching. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like what is the human element that we need to keep it to the forefront of whatever content we're creating? Yeah,
it's something that Marcus says, and we say a lot here at Impact, that to win in the future, you need to be willing to be more human than other people are. And we know that the web, the internet right now is being flooded by content that is derivative and boring. And just like you said, you could pick it out because it feels the same as everything else. It's written perfectly, flawlessly, but without a lot of soul or heart. And you can prompt AI to do better with that. You can prompt AI to stay away from those kind of signal phrases that tell you that it's AI. You can prompt AI to be more conversational, to be more funny, things like that. But ultimately, those are the things that make a piece of content feel human. Some humor, some errors, some intentional errors, starting sentences with, but, or being a little bit funny, using examples from your personal life or from pop culture. It's going to depend on your brand and your brand voice.
Of course,
Marcus Sheridan has this fantastic list of elements of human writing, and they really do leap off the page, especially when you see them in the way that he talks about them. So he talks about emotional complexity. He talks about humor. He talks about intuitive flow and pacing, imperfections and quirks, experiential anecdotes. There are a bunch of them, but at the end of the day, your own opinions, your own experiences, your own points of view, those are the things that the AI doesn't have. And so when you can bring them in, that's the expertise, that's the human element that's way valuable and makes a piece of content feel engaging in a way that it doesn't always.
Yeah, being authentic is important. That's a really important piece, because I feel like if I'm reading a piece of content that's extremely eloquent, and then I talk to somebody on the phone and they're not eloquent and they're way more just like direct and which is totally cool. That's fine. But like if that doesn't match up, that to me is like, oh, there's a gap there. Like, why is this written a certain way? And so I hear what you're saying, and it's making sense as we're talking through this.
And I think here's the thing that so many content managers and marketers in general have in their mind what they're taught in school, which is you want to be as formal and as kind of vanilla as possible. You don't want to share your opinions. You don't want to use I. You don't want to break any grammar rules, because that's how formal academic writing is, and that's what you learn in high school and in college.
Right.
And then if you're writing content, if you're creating content, you're doing creative work. So you really have to retrain yourself, especially in the age of AI, because AI can produce that really formal, really rigid type writing pretty easily. And what it can produce is the other side, which is the humor, the anecdote, the memory, the pop culture reference, the informal and imperfect writing that feels like someone is actually being conversational with you. There's actually a commercial, I think it was an Apple commercial last winter, that got a lot of heat on the internet because someone had, in the commercial, he's written an email to his boss, and it feels funny and collegial, like you might talk to someone you're really close with.
Sure.
And he uses some humor, and then he clicks the button for AI to help him, and AI turns it into the most bland, forgettable, boilerplate email possible. And the point of the commercial is, look what AI can do. And the takeaway from everybody who saw the commercial is, no, that's not what we want AI to do. We don't want it to take our personality out of what we write.
Right.
Because that's what we have. That's the value that we bring. So anytime you feel that it is overly standardizing, overly formalizing, overly kind of making something feel as clean and sanitary as possible, you're going too far and you're losing what makes your content different from everyone else's.
Yeah. Being different is a good thing. It's okay.
Being different is a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And so many content managers, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but you really are the voice of your brand. Like you want to know what the brand's identity is. You want to sound like the brand, but then you want to be able to internalize it and be that brand. That's the value that you bring. And if you're pulling something directly off of GPT or Claude or anything else, so could anyone else who put in that exact same prompt.
Yeah. That's so true. And I love that reference to the commercial you're talking about, because it comes off it's really funny. Like the email that he's sending it seems like they're friends from college in a frat or something like that.
I think he calls him, "You're the big kahuna here," or something. And then it changes it to, "You're in charge." Yeah. So it's just so forgettable, right?
So bland.
It's so easy to be forgettable in this age when there's such an inundation of content that feels interchangeable. Yeah. So be different, be yourself, share your personality. That's the way to be human in the age of AI.
You train and coach a lot of companies on this. What do you tell content managers that are leveraging these new tools that are rapidly changing and evolving? You've listed some cool skills already, but what are some other skills that they should be implementing while using AI, and how to leverage it to help them just do their job better?
There's so many tools. We talked about that before, right? Yeah. That the landscape is nowhere near settled. Right. But there's probably a tool for what you're looking to do. Mm-hmm. There's a tool that I've been playing with recently called Napkin, napkin.ai. And what it does is if you import text into it, it will turn it into some kind of graphic.
Oh, very cool.
If you are talking about the 4 steps of something, you put that in and it's going to make a graphic of the 4 steps with some illustrations. And it's not perfect, but it's interesting. And I think sometimes content can be written about things that feel really abstract, and making something into a graphic makes it feel more concrete.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that you hand off to a graphic designer who can spruce it up and make it nicer, but it gives you a first step towards,
even as inspo. It's like, hey, here's the storyboard for whatever. Like, it just gives you a jumping off point.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think the big lesson that I would say is, one, there's probably a tool for whatever you're looking to do. Mm-hmm. So search and try something and play around with it. And there's usually a free version or
a trial
or something, or it might be cheap, but play around.
Yeah.
Second is, think about the parts of the job that feel tedious. Think about AI as an intern that you want to assign those tasks that feel tough, summarizing a transcript or finding things in a transcript, as I said before.
Yeah.
For you, Alex, maybe it's getting down an outline so it's not a blank page that you're staring at before you start. For the example I shared before, maybe it is, look, I've never done web copy. So help me take this big idea and turn it into the basic skeleton of a web page so that I can flesh it out and make it complete.
Yeah.
So I think it's look for tools that can help, and think about the parts of the process that are most uncomfortable or inefficient or challenging for you, and apply one to the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. So my next question, now that you're saying all this, has got me thinking, how much time should a content manager or someone like me or anybody out there watching, listening, we're all busy, we have tasks and things to do. How much of your time should you block out to just doing R&D and testing tools? And how much time do you spend doing that, just to try to find these new tools and just get well versed in them so you're leveraging them to the best of your ability?
I read a post from an interesting thinker recently that he talked about how we will use AI more and more, but the line between AI and non-AI will become blurrier. So we won't really, it'll just become so integrated in our lives. Right now we think I am or I am not.
That's true. That is true.
It's going to be way smoother than that. So if you're writing an email if you're writing an article in Google Docs and Grammarly suggests how to rephrase something, that's AI.
Totally.
We don't really think about it, but we're clicking something that's helping us enhance the way that we say something.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be smoother than we think.
Okay.
How much time you spend a week, I think depends on your schedule and depends on what you're working on. But I think especially if you find yourself beating your head against the wall, there's probably an easier way to do something. And I think you also don't always want to wait that long. You don't always want to wait to a point where you're like, oh man, I got to get this done, and now I'm behind and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
You should get ahead of the game. Stay abreast. Follow people on LinkedIn who are interesting. Follow newsletters. There's like the Decode newsletter is an interesting one. Wired writes one that just about AI. Learn what you can about the landscape. It's changing fast, and it's also, AI is in some ways also a marketing play. Any company can slap AI on anything, and that's a way to try to get more clicks or get more interest. So be ready to kick the tires and see if it's, this isn't really anything that's really helping me at all, or the output isn't worth what I'm putting into it. But, I think keep trying, keep playing, listen and explore those new tools that are coming out that might be something that is just perfect for that challenging part of the job that you hate, or that is unfamiliar, too hard, et cetera. It's not going to do the job for you, but it's going to speed it up so that you can put your human elements in where they matter most.
That's right. You got to put your human element in on it. So now it's time for my favorite part of the show. It's the one thing that people should be taking away from this conversation. We covered a lot of ground. What do you think really is the key for people to take away from this and to start implementing immediately?
I think AI should be a part of your content process in a way that makes most sense for you.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to replace you, but we want it to be a way that can enhance the work that you do, that can make you more efficient, make you able to flex your skills and your expertise in ways that you couldn't before. And this is a great time to also potentially kind of shoulder into some of the adjacent skill sets that you might not be really familiar with. So if you've never done video production or editing, we've used a tool at Impact called Descript, where you can edit a video like you would edit a document, where you can highlight text, erase it, move it around so you can reassemble something like this conversation without knowing how to do it in Premiere. So there are fantastic tools out there that the learning curve is not that steep. The expense is not that high. So spend some time, learn, play, and see what you get. At the same time, remember that this is a landscape that's changing very rapidly. That is, there's going to be a lot of volatility in the AI space in the foreseeable future. And where it settles out and how it affects our work is going to change from one quarter to the next. So keep your finger on the pulse, keep listening, and
keep it real.
Playing.
Keep it real.
Yeah, and keep it, at the end of the day, keep it real. The human element is vital, and any tool can't replace you. So be the content manager, be the creative who is sharing personality, perspective, anecdotes, humor, emotional vulnerability, all of those things that make us human and really connect us to our audience. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Is our audience reading our content, watching our content, listening to our content, learning from it, seeing value in it?